Joining me now is George Glasier of Western Uranium and Vanadium. Let's talk about your project, because you're based in Colorado and you're in an interesting position right at the moment, and I think you've got some news that you want to share about the project and where you're at with the state of Colorado.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know, we've got mines that we opened this summer getting ready for production, waiting for the commodity price to recover.
Right.
And it looks like that could happen any time.
Yeah.
Of course, you know, things have been going on in the U.S. With regard to U.S. production. And there was just an announcement in the last couple hours by one of the Secretary of Energy, that basically said Trump's going to do something to immediately help the U.S. production industry.
Yes.
And I noticed our stock skyrocketed in a matter of hours, and most producers in the U.S. did. It's going to be an interesting time.
Yes.
We've got one of the few mines that are ready to go into production to supply whatever that need is.
Yep.
Whether it's the U.S. government buying, whether it's utilities, we don't know yet. But again, having projects that are ready to go into production will be the key, and that's the key with us.
Where are you at the permitting stage then?
Oh, these are fully permitted.
They're fully permitted.
Yeah, fully permitted. They were operational in 2009 and 2010.
Yep.
The permits are in place, waiting for the commodity price to come back. So yeah, we opened the mines. We actually produced ore at the mines this last summer.
You did,
well,
even at current prices.
Well, we didn't ship it anywhere. We just stockpiled it, anticipating the price to go up.
Well, it sure looks like it's going to, doesn't it?
Well, it looks like it.
Yeah, because President Trump really seems to be set on making sure that there is certainty in the supply going forward.
Absolutely, and if you look at the production report, in the U.S., we're the largest consumer of uranium in the world, 50 million pounds a year.
Right.
Last year, the report I just read, this was 2019, we produced less than 200,000 pounds, not even 1 million pounds in the U.S. That's almost no production.
Yeah.
Our uranium, you know, we get a good chunk of it out of Canada, we get some in Australia, but we get a lot from maybe less than friendly sources. It could cut us off.
Well, and it's my understanding that the need is 180 million per year, but production is about 90 million.
That's right.
And so we're looking at what had been a surplus market dwindling and rapidly, and then if you project out, as you point out, so much of that is required in the United States is coming from other places. It's no wonder that the government is now starting to say, we want certainty of supply.
Yeah. You know, and the government should step up, because the utilities in the U.S. would like to, but they're unable. They're regulated mostly, you know, and so again, their motivation is to buy fuel, whatever it is, at market price. And if the uranium market price is $25, they're not going to pay $60.
No.
It's just not in the cards. But the government can step up, buy for the national stockpile. You know, under the 232 petition that was filed 2 years ago, and Trump said, well, I'm not going to act on that, but I'm going to do something. That would have basically been asking the utilities or telling the utilities to buy a certain amount of their uranium from U.S. producers.
Right.
So we'll see, you know, what happens now going forward with President Trump, but we think, you know, probably something will happen, and it probably will benefit the industry. And actually, I think when it benefits the U.S., it'll benefit the Canadian producers too.
Right. Because
who will be cut out will be the Russians. You know, they'll be the odd man out of this, or the Kazakhs. It won't be the Canadians.
Yes.
Or the Australians.
So it's my understanding that he wants to build up that stockpile, not only for utilities but also for naval use.
Yes.
That it's fundamentally important there, and does not want anybody to be stranded out. So it puts you in a unique position.
It does, and that's why we opened the mines, anticipating that there will be a demand for it at a reasonable price. And so our mines are ready to go.
Yeah.
Unlike, we've got a lot of resources in the U.S., but most are undeveloped and not permitted.
So when we take a look at the project, any investor is going to start to say, okay, well, what's the identified or known resource?
Well, we did a small, on a drill out that, we bought this mine, and was actually, the drill out was done by Denison Mines, this Canadian company. They drilled out a small amount in 2010, and we did the 43-101 on that. Shows a resource of about 4 million pounds, but it's a very small drill out. This mine has been virtually unexplored because They just did one right in front of where they were mining. Denison mined it in 2009 and 10.
Yeah.
And so they did a small drill out, but most of the property's never been explored. What we did when we opened the mine, we did some exploratory drilling underground this summer.
Yeah.
And again, we haven't reported any of that results on a 43-101, but that could be done.
Okay.
But again, our idea is let's just go mine it. You know, we could spend money on exploration, but you know, you can take a look. It's a big property. It's got massive amounts of potential, which we can't report because we haven't put drill holes down.
So it's not unusual to have vanadium associated with uranium, and you're in that position. What's the vanadium source look like or resource look like?
Well, the vanadium, you know, actually in the mine is 6 to 7 times the content of the uranium. You know, it could be called a vanadium mine. Right now at vanadium prices, the resource is more valuable for vanadium.
Yeah.
Because it's, you know, 6 times as rich.
Yes.
And so we only did a small drill out on uranium and no further drilling really for vanadium. So it could be very well that there could be hundreds of millions of pounds of vanadium in this deposit.
Wow.
It was a major producer for Union Carbide when Union Carbide was the biggest vanadium producer in the world. And Union Carbide started this mine.
Right.
And so this is a mine that's got a lot of potential for vanadium as well as the uranium.
So what's your plan? Is your plan to de-risk this project and see whether or not you can vend into a major, or are you envisioning that you're going to build this out?
Well, obviously, small companies like us, you know, probably the best way to monetize it is probably to sell it, you know, to a major, you know. And again, this is not a capital intensive project because it's already been, you know, Carbide spent $50 million on this.
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of capital to be put into it, but a major company could use the production, either whether it's uranium or vanadium, but definitely that's one of the strategies. I don't mind, I'm the major shareholder of the company. If we sell the company for the benefit of the shareholders, that's great.
And right now, how are your finances? What are your financial needs as you move sort of through the next 12 to 24 months?
We've got enough cash to certainly, unless we go into mining, we've got plenty of cash to last us for the next 18 months. If we decide to start mining, and obviously that's going to take some cash. And so we haven't made the decision yet, but if you see the market moving, we will probably do a small raise to put the production there before the cash flows start coming in.
But be careful not to dilute too much.
Yes, right, so a small raise, but again, we're in a good cash position now. We don't need to raise anything unless production starts.
Well, I think that you're in a very interesting position because as we started this interview, we talked about the changing landscape, the need in the United States to build up that reserve, and the support of the federal government behind that. We might be seeing a shift in that uranium market.
Yes, definitely, yes.
Well, I hope you'll come back next year and tell us, you know, how it's all playing itself out.
I hope I will too.
Yeah, great. Thank you very much. See you next time.